Hello, my name is Devin. This is Modest 1.0, and now we are into the final section of the engine, the sound. So, throughout the engine, you might have seen these little things from the sound manager. We go into user source, load all assets, for instance. We go down a little bit, and wow, all this sound. It's creating channel group, that's a lot of stuff. Basically, that all stems from this up here, and the sound manager, which we're looking at right now. So this sound manager, it's a singleton, and it handles basically Fmod functionality. So what it offers is it offers placing sounds, 3D space sound. It offers 2D panning, setting effects of sounds, modifying those effects dynamically, creating sounds, setting pitch, volume, stopping, creating channels, etc. This is basically setting them looped and everything. This is basically what it does, and also setting channel groups too. So basically organizing your sounds, playing them. That is the purpose of this, and it's meant to simplify the functionality of Fmod so that you don't have to write all the syntax. So basically how this works is there's this little sound folder over here. Now, I want to run through just basic creation of a sound in this video, and then I'll start getting into channel groups and whatnot. So we go into load all assets. We want to create a sound. Simple Fmod 2D, right? Nothing out of the ordinary. So we do create sound. Now what that does is it runs into its create sound function. It looks for anything within the sounds folder within assets, and it will create a channel based on the mode that you've given it. Its mode in this case is Fmod 2D. It will be Fmod 2D by default, or Fmod default. And so there are two types of channels. There are channel 2D and channel 3D. Now, I won't get into channels just yet, but I will start getting into basically how it adds sounds. So we have our channel, and the sounds play through a channel. But the channels get a little more complex, so I will describe that in the next video. So once we create our sound, it adds it to a linked list, and we want to call on that sound later in the game. So, for instance, the player. Which sound was I just looking at? The gunshot, actually. So I believe that's called in the barrel. So if we go look at the tank, and we look at the tank barrel, that's the turret. Okay. Tried to collapse everything, but I guess not. So we go down to, here we are. So for this, we are setting the pitch, setting the volume, and setting the effect for this gunshot. We are setting its 3D distance, and we are playing the sound. This is basically how we play the sound. Ignore all this, in other words. This is how we do it. We want to play it at a certain point. This is when we fire around. So when spacebar is pressed, for instance, that is when the sound is played. But it does all this stuff beforehand so that we can get different effects out of it. For example, the big boss, the magenta one, he will fire a bullet at a frequency that is 1, which is much lower, and it just has a much. It just is more piercing and just booming. The other ones, they have that little that kind of just quick sound effect laser. Original sound, by the way. Setting the volume, modifying the chorus. This is just how it's done. Playing a sound, it adds it to a list of commands. And basically what happens here is these commands are then processed on engine level. So what we do is it processes them on the next frame. That prevents prevents a lot of issues that could occur in the process, preventing it from affecting anything else that would be in the game. So if we go into the modest file right here, the source file, we have sound manager attorney update Fmod. Now what that does is it updates the system and updates all the channels too. So, and in the process as well, we go into the scene manager, update the scene, and in here, once we go through this whole structure, we have at the bottom process sound commands. what that does is it gets the sounds and, plays them all accordingly. They're all grouped in based on their own things. So this is basically just how it manages all the sounds. So it plays the sounds, and the sound manager handles, what channel it plays through, what group controls those channels. So that is the basic structure to understand of how this works. The underlying idea of how to work with sound in this engine. So just it's simple as, it does all this stuff in the background so that the user only has to call a function such as, play sound if they wanted to. Meanwhile, they can set all these effects and modifications to it as well. So hopefully that's the longest video on sound I have yet. The next ones are coming up.